This Mercer team is better than you think. But don't call me crazy for saying that. I know what we're up against.
You are Locked On Bama, your daily podcast on the Alabama Crimson Tide. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hey, everybody. Welcome back into Locked On Bama, AHSA's radio network. Luke Robinson, that's me. Bama Online's Jimmy Stein, that's him. This episode is brought to you by Game Time. We'll tell you about Game Time here in just a little bit. I want to thank you everydayers for joining us every day, and you newbies for joining us today. You guys are the best. Jimmy, so we're going to ask this question before we get into predictions. You've been poring over the statistics and the information. Is Mercer better than people think? I know they're like, what, 8-1? Are they 8-1?
I think 9-1. I think 9-1. Yeah, I think they're 9-1. They're 8-1 or 9-1, but I think they're 9-1. I researched it to the point that I'm asking, and I don't know the answer to this. Maybe 2011 Chattanooga. I don't know. But, we've been playing this one FCS game now for quite some time. I'm sure Mercer's in the argument of being the best one we've played, throughout the whole era of playing one FCS team per year. They're going to be either the best we've played or in the argument. Now, does that mean that the game's going to be close and that Alabama needs to bring their A game? I'm not saying anything like that. We know that Alabama is substantially better than Mercer and should win by multiple touchdowns. But you add up a few things here, Luke. Coming off a huge emotional win, sandwiched between a road trip to Norman, Oklahoma. The last time we came off a huge win, we lost to a lesser brand in Vanderbilt. And Mercer plays the type of offense that gives teams a little trouble. They spread it out and then run RPOs. So they run RPOs with the quarterback in the back against a light box because you got to spread out to cover all the wide receivers. So it's a little bit like South Florida. Guess who's given us a little bit of trouble, particularly this year? South Florida with that spread RPO offense. So, and they have an athletic quarterback that can make plays. So I'm just saying, and I'm going to predict too, closer than the experts think, I guess is where I'll go with to riff off the legend Lee Corso.
Yeah, I can certainly buy that. I can see that's happening. I'm not even seeing a spread is one thing that's kind of weird to me. Have you seen a spread?
I have not, but I guess it's FBS versus FCS. So by the way, I looked this up. There have been 114 games this year, 114 between FCS teams and FBS teams. The FCS team has won 6. That is a paltry number, less than 6% of the time.
Well, I want to know who those are too.
I can't. I just looked at the overall record. I don't know. It's a paltry number, but it's also not zero. There's not a 0% chance that Mercer wins the game just based on what's happened this year in college football, but it's close to zero. So Alabama doesn't need to help Mercer out. They don't need to just not show up. I mean, you're going to have to show up and play. And again, for an FCS team, Mercer's very good. Don't you remember going back to week 1, Luke? How many people were predicting that FCS North Dakota State was going to beat Colorado?
Yeah.
And obviously Colorado won the game and they've had a good year that surprised a lot of people. But, it's not crazy to think an FCS team would be competitive against an FBS team, particularly in the situation Alabama's in where it's just clearly the mail it in sandwich game.
Okay, here I am doing your work for you again.
Somebody's got to.
Montana State at New Mexico. Montana State wins by 4, 35-31. St. Francis, PA at Kent State, 23-17. St. Francis.
Kent State's terrible.
Yeah, Kent State is god-awful. Idaho at Wyoming, 17-13 Idaho. And if you had told me before that game, I would have said, I don't think Idaho's a
They FCS. Used to be FBS.
Yeah.
They've gone back to FCS.
Southern Utah, who, boy, I'd almost swear they were FBS at one time, but I'd probably be wrong.
Traditionally good.
They win in overtime 23-24 over UTEP. Monmouth over Florida International 45-42, and UT Martin over Kennesaw State. I'm pretty sure UT Martin were they not FBS?
They've always been FCS, and that is so UT Martin beat Kennesaw. That's one of the wins, right? That's Ty's dad.
And on top of that, that's the only game that was won by double digits. UT Martin beat Kennesaw 24-13. The rest of them were decided by 3, 1, or 4, or in one case 6, and one of those was in overtime.
How about Jay Simpson? Maybe Kennesaw should hire Jay Simpson since he beat them, because I know they're hiring. And I think Ty's dad, he has done he has done a good job there. So that just goes to show it can happen. But notice that none of those teams that lost are top 20, top 50 even programs. So there's no excuse, if you don't get this done. But Mercer is a competitive FCS team. But, that's good news. You should want some level of challenge because you're trying to improve. You're trying to get better. Make this, at worst, an extremely valuable practice type session. Work on some things. But win the game first and foremost. I mean, first of all, win the game. If you don't win this one, they're going to be talking about it for a while.
By the way, and this is loosely related to what we're discussing, Florida International, guess who they opened up with this year? Indiana, a team that, you and I think is ranked way too highly right now. Indiana did win that game 31-7. Meanwhile, Monmouth did defeat Florida International 45-42. So, again, that's one of Indiana's out-of-conference teams, along with Western Illinois and Charlotte.
Western Illinois is an FCS team, for those that don't know.
You could make a whole sentence that has nothing to do with colleges. You could be like, hey, Indiana, my friend Charlotte is going to Western Illinois via the Florida International Airport. That's how bad those teams are. You could make a whole sentence using all 3 of their non-conference games, nothing to do with football.
You just did a whole bit using names of colleges. That's pretty good. It's pretty good, particularly when you didn't throw in a William and Mary, which we think would be like absolutely imperative whenever you're making a similar joke.
Indiana's got to schedule them sometime, though. I got to
both of them, William and Mary.
They got to schedule them both. That's right. They just can't play Mary or William. They got to have them both there. All right, Jimmy. When we come back, we're going to do a little prediction time. However, it is time for some FanDuel time. That's something else that we do here is discuss FanDuel because it's the best, as you know. Get ready to tackle the NFL action. You can do it tonight. Philly and the Commanders tonight. Get ready to tackle the NFL action with FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook, because right now, new customers can bet up to $5 and get $150 in bonus bets if you win. The FanDuel Sportsbook app gives you everything you need to place live bets on the NFL all in one place. So when you get a hunch in the middle of the game and you can check out the latest stats and you can view live play-by-play and so much more, you can do it all right on the app called FanDuel that you love. Just visit FanDuel.com to join today. You'll get started with 150 smacks and bonus bets if you win your first $5 bet. That's only at FanDuel.com. Never waste a hunch. Always go to FanDuel.com and use that puppy because, FanDuel is, of course, as we've told you a gazillion times, America's #1 sportsbook. Also want to tell you guys about Academy.
Our buddies, our friends, our good friends.
Our good friends that they hosted us. I got to find the overlay here. Here it is right here. Academy. They're the best, man. They were so sweet to us. Your new Academy Sports and Outdoor store is now open in Birmingham with the best sports equipment, outdoor gear, apparel, footwear from the best brands you love. All at low prices. We carry a wide selection of trusted brands like Nike, Stanley, Brooks, Carhartt, Blackstone, Yeti, Titleist, Shimano, and more. Plus, you can shop online or on the app with free in-store pickup, or enjoy free shipping to your home on purchases over $25. Your new Academy Sports and Outdoor store is located at 4610 U.S. Highway 280 in Birmingham. And for those of you who are around the Ham, know where that is. It's the old Best Buy in the Target parking lot. right over there there's a little Vietnamese place I've gone over there and eaten. It's
not far from 459. I mean,
it's like right there, man. I mean, what are you doing? Get over there. Tell them Luke and Jimmy sent you because, we'd appreciate it.
We did.
Yeah, we did. All right, so some prediction time here. Let's start with just some generalities.
Okay.
Does anybody for Alabama break 100 yards rushing?
No.
I'm with you, sadly.
Because I think the way I see the game playing out, Milroe doesn't run it much. Jam and Justice don't play very long. And then the carries are really divided up between Richard Young, Daniel Hill, might even see Kevin Riley.
Because Riley he's played in one game, I think, right?
I think Riley's got another game he can play and still sure. Yeah. So and the thinking would be that you're probably not going to see him against Oklahoma and Auburn. So I think guys like Kevin Riley hopefully get a lot of playing time, even if the game's not a wild blowout, because I'm going to predict it a little closer than you will, I believe.
I don't know. I hadn't told you yet. So how do you?
I'm just guessing.
That's also a prediction. You got a prediction about the predictions coming up. Okay. Does Jalen Milroe play more than 2 quarters?
No.
These long pauses, I want to remind you again.
I know. It's terrible radio. It's terrible radio. It's terrible radio, but here's what's also terrible radio.
Did you whistle or something?
I changed my mind. Jalen will play more than 2 quarters. See, that's why I had to think through. He's going to play the first half and the first series and the second half.
All right, 2.5. Let's call it 2.5 quarters. I would say that is a great line, 2.5 quarters, and I'm going to say under. But I'm like you. I think it's under because he goes just the first possession in the second half.
First possession. Yeah.
And frankly, I'd be fine if he didn't. I hope it's big enough where he doesn't have to.
Yeah, we need Ty to get some snaps. Ty's going to be the quarterback next year. I mean, I know that's not breaking news or anything, but I mean,
we don't know.
I'm convinced. I'm personally convinced Milroe's going to enter the NFL draft, and Ty Simpson will win the quarterback job. And so Ty needs some reps.
I'm with if we do that, if we're up 42-0 at the half, and I'm sorry, Mercer fans, it could be that way. If we are, and we decide we make the very wise decision, in my opinion, to sit Jalen Milroe in the second half. When Ty comes in, it doesn't need to be student body right, student body left, or right up the middle, or whatever. Ty needs to be able to have some plays. Now, I don't want to show him our gadget plays or anything funky, but I'm all for some play action. I'm all for some, sort of, actually, this would be less than a scrimmage because Mercer's players aren't as good as our players, but he needs to be in action in front of people.
This is why I can't be a head coach. This is why I can't be, and why all of y'all will shortly agree that I shouldn't be a head coach, because I would end up taking one of these Mercer games too lightly and lose, so I would be fired. But I would personally, just me, I would start Ty Simpson. I wouldn't play Jalen Milroe. I want him sitting. I want Oklahoma to be him coming off another bye week. I wouldn't play the starting offensive line. I wouldn't play. I would literally give a bunch of starters the day off and some of the week off of practice and have them fresh for Oklahoma and Auburn. And I would expect my backup players that I'm playing to beat Mercer. And I'd be tough on them during practice because you can't afford to slip up. I just think it would be invaluable for what amounts to next year's starting group having a whole week of first-team reps and then start the game. But that's me, and again, it's proof that I shouldn't have this job, but that's how I would approach it.
Yeah, I mean, I get what you're saying. At the same time, I think when you start putting that mindset in, some games are more important than others, and we know this is true. But as a player, when you start looking at it that way, that's when you get upset.
Well, they have 50 scholarships and we have 85. This isn't just the, quote, worst team on the schedule. This is a team by rule who should not be able to compete with an FBS football team. By rule, by number of scholarship players, period, to say nothing of who's choosing to play at Mercer over playing for an SEC team. This is a team that our backups should win handily. But they would need first-team reps and play together and that sort of chemistry stuff. But I would get fired for losing a game like this, obviously. But I'd also point out the other edge of the sword. Hey, coaches like DeBoer and his people who actually had these jobs. They get fired because they lose games, and they lose games because their players are injured. You know, I'm all for kind of getting healthy this week.
I'm with you on that. All right. So having said all that, what's your prediction?
Even playing the first team players, and here I'm swinging the other way around. I think it's going to be closer than the experts think. I don't think Alabama's going to play great. Just too emotional after LSU. Didn't play well after Georgia. Alabama wins 38-10, and probably isn't super comfortable until midway through the third quarter. I mean, that's what I fear. Now, could Alabama win 70-0? Absolutely. Do I hope so? Oh gosh, absolutely. Because of all the things, like I said, we need the backups to play. But I just kind of see a sleepy. When do we start packing for Norman performance, and you sleepwalk through a 38-10 win?
I get it. 38-10 that'd be concerning.
A little bit.
It'd be very concerning to me.
If there was a line, it would be in around 40, and that wouldn't come close to covering a 40-point line. But a 28-point win is. It's not like
you've already nailed one prediction. I was surprised by your prediction.
I told you. And hey, that's my official prediction. It's already entered into the BOL archives as well. That will be coming out later.
All right, I'll say 49-14. I mean, Mercer gets. I think at one time it's probably like 21-7. Mercer scores somehow, and then Bama picks it up a little more, and they get
49-14.
I said 49-14, yeah.
49-14, okay.
Yeah. So, and then Bama scores a couple more times, maybe goes into the half up 35-7. Second half, Ty Simpson leads a couple of touchdown drives, and Mercer gets a cheapie in there somewhere. That's going to be my prediction. I'm hoping we do see a good bit of Ty Simpson, not because I don't like Jalen Milroe. Please don't say that, anybody. Just because I think you need to get the backup some action. They say, look, if you think the season's long, the playoffs are going to make it seem like it's really long. I mean, and you better have somebody that's capable. It's just going to be the way it is. Somebody's going to get hurt in these playoffs.
Look what happened to us at one position last week, Luke. We lost Q Robinson, who's basically a co-starter and the senior leader of the group. We lose him, and you might think, well, okay, we have another upperclassman in Kano Coop. He'll do fine. No, he's suspended. So
what's the deal with him, by the way?
I don't know.
You think he's off the team eventually?
It's so late in the year. I think it's fair to say suspension means done for the year, but DeBoer didn't say that. So I'm just, the company line is suspension. So,
and he's not playing this week.
No.
I mean, if you're not playing for Mercer, I mean, that's a suspension too. I mean, it's like that'd be the game if I were Kano Coop. I'd be like,
things have gotten a little complicated for Alabama at this spot again. Yeah. Now you're down to Quay Rousseau, Yanze Pierre, and two freshmen who have only played. I don't know that Jay Sean Ross, he's there, and Noah Carter is there. I don't know. I think Noah Carter's played some snaps, but he's in line for a red shirt. Jay Sean Ross is definitely in line for red shirt. You don't want to be taking red shirts off kids this late in the year. You don't want to, but you're one more injury away from you have to. So, yeah. So maybe Coop, if he truly is suspended, he might be really needed, down the stretch here. But I think Alabama's fine with Quay Rousseau and Yanze Pierre. Also throwing in as a reminder that even going back to game one, Alabama consistently runs a package where Justin Jefferson comes to play inside linebacker and Jahad Campbell is moved outside to the Wolf spot. So Jahad's been playing Wolf too. And obviously that's something they can do.
Okay. All right. Well, when we come back, we're going to make some predictions on a couple other games and discuss this Caleb Cunningham kerfluffle. But now I want to tell you about Game Time because I love it. You love it. If you ever used it, you'll love it. I'll just tell you that much. I don't know that you love it yet, but if you'll use it, you'll love it. Just give it a whirl. What's wrong with you? Go use code Locked On College. Go get Game Time app. It's so easy to download. And then you use the Locked On College, $20 off that first purchase. I've used it for all kind of baseball, all kind of basketball, all kind of football, all kind of everything. And I've used it for college baseball, by the way. I've also used it for concerts. because it's so easy. I can see where I'm going to be sitting. I know if there's going to be some giant column in front of me or something like that. It's fantastic. And their customer service, chef's kiss. They helped me the one time that I needed help. And if you've ever used any of these other ticket services and you've needed customer service, you know how important that is. Because I'm not going to say any by name, but because they told me not to. But I would have no. If you would come up to me in the street, go, hey, Luke, which ticket service kind of stunk for you? I'll tell you. And then I'll tell you, hey, look, you won't have to worry about it if you use Game Time, because I've had nothing but great experience. So go download the Game Time app today. And, what time is it? It's game time, baby.
I've been using Game Time to track Justin Timberlake in New Orleans on Monday. But the Game Time app's been great in helping.
You sure that's not the Stalker app?
Probably not too. I'm not looking for Justin Timberlake. He's actually going to perform a show in the Smoothie King Center Monday night, but I think I'm just a no-go there. But I appreciate that Game Time has kind of kept me up to date with, and I could get tickets cheaper than I assumed I could, thanks to Game Time. But still, it's just tough to head to New Orleans in football season for me.
Yeah, it'd be tough for me to head to New Orleans with you to see Justin Timberlake. So that's another thing. All right, so a couple other games out there that it's not a super duper week or anything. It just isn't. I mean, it's fine, but it's not.
4 games, I think, I find
Texas at Arkansas. It doesn't. It has my curiosity. It doesn't have my attention yet.
I'm going out on a limb because I'll go. That's another thing that I did on POL. I have Arkansas upsetting Texas.
Whoa!
I know. Yeah, I know. That's a big. I'm not usually the guy that makes that kind of non-chalky call, but Arkansas beat them not too long ago up there, and Texas had a much better team than Arkansas did. They're explosive offensively. Taylor Green's going to make plays against anyone. Texas, this would be one of Texas's better wins, to be honest. I just think playing on the road in the SEC's just full of landmines. I got Arkansas, but I realize I'm going out on a limb there. Obviously, I'm not.
You are, and their offense is explosive, meaning it blows up in their face quite often.
Especially playing against this good Texas defense. But it's just so rare for me that I'll loudly call for an upset. But yeah, I got Arkansas here.
Monroe, do they have a shot beating Auburn? Auburn's a 24-point favorite. I thought that seemed a little high, but Monroe has really come back down to earth. They were, 7-1 or 5-1 or something, and now they've lost a couple of games, and they look like Monroe again. But
pretty good Monroe team, by the way.
It's not bad.
They're not bad, and they can score. And there's Alabama kids all over that roster, which I think sounds really good. See, Louisiana Monroe is coached by Brian Vincent, former UAB OC, former Spanish Fort High School, former South Alabama OC, and now he's the head coach of Louisiana Monroe. So he took a bunch of Alabama kids with him over there. So they're going to be really fired up about seeing Auburn. I'm not predicting Louisiana Monroe to upset Auburn, but on my little office pool sheet, it was one of my first picks I circled right when the sheet came out. I took Monroe in those points.
Yeah, I get you on that. Oregon traveling to Wisconsin. I would love to say Wisconsin has a shot. I don't think Wisconsin has a shot. Maybe the weather. If the weather, like suddenly there's a blizzard that comes through or something, maybe, but otherwise, no.
Sometimes when you're 10-0, sometimes when things have gone great, sometimes you're due to lose. It doesn't really matter who the opponent is. It's just hard to win every single week. And Wisconsin's due for a Luke Fickell signature win that hasn't even been close to happening. So in those ways, but no, I can't pick Wisconsin with a straight face. So just say that Oregon is due to lose and Luke Fickell is due for a signature win. But, you'd be crazy to make the call.
And then Georgia and Tennessee. I think it all boils down to Nico in a sense. Because if Nico plays, I think there is a puncher's chance. Because Tennessee's defense is good enough to force Carson Beck, if he doesn't play any better, to do some really bad things. However, I'm going to predict Georgia to win. And if you want Alabama in the SEC title game, you want Georgia to win.
Yeah. Well, I do want Alabama in the SEC title game.
I'll be honest. I can take it or leave it. I'm not like, oh, God, please, Georgia, do this for us. I'm like, if Georgia wins and we don't, in Tennessee – ends up getting in there and playing a Texas or A&M or whatever,
Yeah.
I'm sort of like, okay.
In previous years, you'd be sweating it out. Previous years, you need Alabama in that SEC championship game, but not now. So I'm with you. I want to be in it, but if we're not, that's fine.
I want that 5 seed, Jimmy. That's what I want.
I don't know about what's gotten into me this weekend, Luke, because talking about Monroe covering and Oregon could struggle. Wisconsin, I picked Arkansas to beat. I got Tennessee beating Georgia, assuming Nico plays. I agree with you. If Nico isn't out there and Gaston Moore is Tennessee's quarterback, I'd definitely pick in Georgia. Georgia could probably just run the ball and win the game. But no, I think with Nico, Tennessee wins. And people are like, how? I think Tennessee is better than Georgia on defense. They're just better. And Tennessee's offense is playing better than Georgia's offense right now.
Yeah.
I mean, I just like Tennessee to win, and I think they're sort of being underrated somehow. I know they're number 7 or 8 in the rankings, and they're in the playoff, and yet I still feel like enough people don't talk about Tennessee because they play defense, they got the leading rusher in the SEC, and a quarterback who's capable that's probably going to have a breakout game at some point. I think Tennessee is just going to beat Georgia.
Of course, Caleb Cunningham flipped yesterday to Ole Miss. I mean, I went live on it very quickly right afterwards. And, I mean, I think the general consensus was, well, if you ain't wearing crimson, and yes, I agree with that sentiment. I will also say it's fair to be sad that Caleb Cunningham won't be in this class, and that's okay too. Alabama's going to be fine. I wish Caleb Cunningham was in this class. What I hate is, like, you're sort of stuck when somebody flips from your team and you're like, hey, I wish we had him, but it's not the end of the world. Somebody will go, Cope, you're just using copium. Drink all the Diet Cope. You know, I'm like, look, I'm telling you, we're going to be fine. I would love to have him in this class. I don't know what else to say about that. I wish he would stay. But I think Alabama will find somebody else, that Montgomery kid from Florida or, somebody else. And now what is funny, I do find the timing of this suspicious, that Eric Smith, the brother of Derek Smith, just committed to Auburn yesterday too. And I wonder if there was some talk about, maybe Alabama will circle back to Derek Smith and really, up the ante there with Eric Smith. And Auburn's like, well, what if we just get both of them right now and it makes it hard for both to decommit? That's also very fair.
Yeah, I think the Derek Smith ship had sailed for Alabama myself. And I thought at one point there might be a door open, but nah. Losing Caleb Cunningham again, things can be bad, but not terminal. That's what I think of. I mean, I never want to be the guy like, everything with them is spin. That's not true. This is bad. I mean, we tried very hard. Alabama put a lot of eggs in that basket, and they tried very hard, and they got a commitment, and they felt good about it. And he's not going to be in the class, and that's bad. That's bad. Now, is it the end of the world? No. Does it mean this recruiting class stinks? No, hell no. I mean, this is a good group, period, regardless of what happened there. And you can't make too much of it, but while still acknowledging, okay, that goes in the con list. There's pros and cons. That goes in the con pile. But he's going to be tough to sign. I think it's a little more than NIL. I know some people just think, well, it's 100% NIL. We think at BOL, this Ole Miss did a good job of like, why don't you come here and be the dude? Why don't you come here and be Batman? Because at Alabama, you're going to be Robin as long as Ryan Williams is on that team. You're going to be Robin over there. And here you'll be Batman day one. And whether it's true or not, or whether that's just the sell job, we do think that sell job got him listening. And obviously Ole Miss is not shy when it comes to NIL situation either. But I think that sales job seems to have worked.
And again, win some, lose some, I'm going to feel a lot better. I'll tell you this, Jimmy, I said this. If you told me yesterday, Luke, think about your team needs, think about everything. You can have Ivan Taylor, a number 50 player in the country, one of the top safeties in the country easily, who's already committed to Notre Dame and Michigan, so people love him. Or you can have Caleb Cunningham, a top 25 player in the country who can also go to just about anywhere that people love him. Which one would you rather have for your team? You can only have one. Probably lean Ivan Taylor. I mean, because he is the more needed guy.
Right. You already have Latsier Brooks at wide receiver. And
We got Ryan Williams coming back.
Ryan Williams coming back.
Jalen Hill
Jalen Hill off injury. Probably Jeremy Bernard back.
Yeah.
Probably K-Law back. Probably E-Man back. I mean, that wide receiver room returns, and I think it's really being underrated. I think we're just in a situation, Luke, where so much of the offense right now is Jalen Milroe running the football, and then you also have runs to Jam and Justice. And then when you throw the ball, you want to get it to Ryan, and if not Ryan, then Jeremy. And you're kind of getting in a situation where wide receivers behind them haven't caught many balls. That doesn't mean that they're not potentially really good players. So the offense will look much different next year. And I think there might be more opportunities for more receivers a year from now. But no, that room's not in bad shape at all. I'm excited about wide receiver going forward. And hey, anytime you got Ryan Williams and one thing about, recruiting, it can be kind of come in 2-year increments. Alabama signed 5 receivers last year. Everyone should accept going into the cycle, hey, you're probably not going to hit home runs at wide receiver. Not after you sign 5. Quarterback the same way. Sign 2 blue chippers, then go try to sign a blue chipper next year. Good luck. I mean, that's hard to do. And as fans, we need to do a better job of, okay, where do they hit home runs this year? Because those are the spots that they're unlikely to do so next year. Not impossible, just unlikely. And I don't think we do that enough. And wide receiver was just one of those positions where they really only wanted to sign 2 guys because they signed 5 a year ago. And they wanted it to be Brooks and Cunningham. Looks like it'll be Brooks and somebody else. Maybe Nashawn Montgomery, who I haven't paid enough attention to. Kid's committed to Florida, not Florida International. Florida's had some pretty good receivers through the years. And this kid's from South Florida, which produces wide receivers like Canada produces hockey players. He might be pretty good.
All right, that's going to do it for today's podcast. We'll be back soon with more. Until then, roll tide, everybody.
Roll tide.